His Excellency Mr. Nafi Ali Nafi, Assistant President of the Republic of Sudan. Your Excellency, Mr. Nafi Ali Nafi, you have the floor.
In the name of God the Merciful, blessings be upon the Prophet Muhammad and his kin. President, Your Excellencies, heads of state, government, and delegation, may I first of all convey greetings on my own behalf and greetings from the whole Sudanese people to you on your as you preside over our work in this session of the COP and the CMP during what is a historic session for both the convention and the protocol. I would also like to give my thanks to the outgoing president, the Minister for the Environment of Poland, for all his work in the past year, and I would also like to thank the people and government of Denmark for the warm welcome we have received. Sudan is making an effective contribution to work to tackle climate change challenges globally and regionally. Indeed, it takes part in all scientific and technical activities, most particularly activities which have occurred over the past year, because indeed Sudan chairs the G77 and China. Sudan is dealing with climate change in its own way, and it has designed a strategy dedicated to meeting the challenges of climate change. And this was indeed referred to in the report submitted to the Secretariat of the Convention in 2003. Madam, Sudan, like other developing countries, does not bear the historic responsibility which led to climate change. Nevertheless, Sudan believes that the achievement of sustainable development requires an effective response to economic and social needs, taking account of the needs of future generations whilst trying to reduce harmful effects on developing countries, particularly least developed countries, whilst abiding by the principle of common but differentiated responsibility. Sudan calls for an effective, ambitious reduction in greenhouse gas emissions and calls for inspiration to be drawn from scientific achievements, and we call for a 40% reduction as adopted by the African Union. It's essential that effective measures also be adopted to ensure the implementation of decisions which have already been adopted. Sudan also calls for the adoption of forceful measures on the part of developing countries whilst respecting the priority of sustainable development. And it's also essential that developing countries be provided with the opportunity to benefit from transfer of technology and capacity building. Now, for them to be able also to, it's also essential that they be able to reduce emissions due to deforestation and land use. Sudan calls upon the developed countries to shoulder their historic responsibility for the action which led to climate change. They should bear the burden of measures and expenditure to allow the adaptation of developing countries. They have to be sure to provide financial resources in compliance with the Framework Convention on Climate Change, being guided by the terms of the Convention in determining future priorities. Sudan strongly supports particular special treatment for LDCs and for Africa, since they are designated to benefit first and foremost from financial support and adaptation measures. It's essential also to speed up the introduction of measures to implement decisions on the reduction of emissions and to speed up work on adaptation. Annex I countries are called upon to abide by provisions which call for technology transfer from developing countries and to ensure full cooperation to overcome obstacles to technology transfer and to partnerships with developing countries. To do this, it's vital to set up a fund endowed with adequate financial resources to ensure technology transfer and capacity building among developed and developing countries. Madam President, turning to finance once again, Sudan appeals for financing to be based on legal commitments and not in the form of donations. The necessary mechanism has to be established to this end. And easy access to this funding should be provided to developing countries in the context of the UNFCCC and the context of other measures and mechanisms set up under the Convention. Sudan calls for a calendar, a timetable beyond 2012. Sudan itself is working on the basis of the Bali Roadmap and would like to see clear, sustainable commitments taken to ensure the implementation of the Convention. Sudan has continuously made efforts to abide by its commitments and has redoubled its efforts as chair of the 77 in order to achieve the targets and to reach a fair, equitable agreement to allow us to tackle the harmful consequences of climate change for the developing countries and at the same time to achieve the goals, our development goals. So, let us unite to tackle the challenges together to ensure that future generations can survive and live. Let us unite for the good of the planet so that history records success in our efforts. I thank you.